starting now, and we're recording, so go ahead. Call the meeting to order. We got introductions. I think everybody pretty much knows. Doreen, you may not have been to the meeting yet.
Not one of these,
This is your first one.
right?
So you want to introduce yourself? I think everybody. John Leader, I can tell you.
Yeah, Doreen Hannanen, senior at board meetings, District 18.
Board there.
Joe Richardson, landowner.
You're going to take a roll. Anybody else want to introduce themselves? Yeah, who are you? If not, we need a motion to approve the minutes from the 6/4 June 4th meeting.
This is Charlie Ortman. I'll move to approve the minutes from 6/4/20.
I'll second it. Approval of the minutes by Charlie, seconded by John. Any discussions or comments? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All the same. Public comment. Anybody have a public comment? Speak up if you got a public comment if you're on the webinar. No comments, then we'll go on to number 5, which is our Wisconsin Land and Water Conservation Association video.
Good morning, everybody. Back in July, I sent you a memo regarding numerous webinars and trainings that the Wisconsin Land and Water Conservation Association has developed. And these are on a number of different types of topics, and they have these posted on their website. So I highly encourage you to look at the list of topics and to view some of these. So one of the things that I've thought about doing is providing some of these training or educational opportunities for you at some of our meetings. So we're going to start that today, and I'd like to use maybe the first 10 minutes of our meeting to provide one of these opportunities for you on a topic. So I would appreciate to get some feedback, whether you like this idea or you don't like the idea, or what sort of topics you'd be interested in. So in your packet is a list of the Wisconsin Land and Water webinars and trainings. And this would be in your packet under item number 5. And they have over 100 different educational videos online. Everything from chapter 92, which defines the role and responsibilities for our department. The Department of Agriculture, Trade and Consumer Protection, DATCP, nutrient management, basics of ag, wildlife and forestry, climate change. There's more than 100 different topics there. So I'd like you to look through those and let me know if there's anything of interest to you or anything that you want to learn more about. Another option, if we don't want to do this at our meetings, is that I can set up a video on the big screen at our office, and you can come and watch any webinar or training that you're interested in, and I'll even provide popcorn if you're interested. So today I've picked out one of the videos, and it's from county conservationists that have been in the department anywhere from 20 to 35 years. And they have some key information for Land Conservation Committee members. So the video is about 10 minutes. We're going to go ahead and watch that. And like I said, in the future, please give me feedback on whether you want to continue doing something like this or what topics you're interested in.
Mary Jo, this is Charlie. Can I ask
Yes.
a question?
Yes.
What is the average length of these videos?
They vary, but I'm picking things that are from like 7 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, my idea, well, I wouldn't mind if we watched one of these every time, every meeting, if they're not too long, and maybe even 2 if they're very short.
Sure, that's what I'm suggesting. Yeah, I haven't looked through the whole list to see how long they are. But that's my intention, is hopefully everyone would be in agreement with that, that you guys would be okay with using a few minutes from each meeting to do something like this.
Well, I support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Gerald Richardson. I support it also.
Thanks, Jerry. Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Matt Kruger. I'm the Executive Director of Wisconsin Land and Water. This video is part of an informative series for new Land Conservation Committee or LCC members, a refresher for committee members that continue to serve, and will hopefully be beneficial for conservation staff as well. With me today are 3 seasoned county conservationists who will share their experiences with us as they answer a few questions that I will ask them. Before we begin, I'd like to invite our county cons to please introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Scholl. I've been with Vilas County for 18 years. 13 of those years I've served as the county conservationist and department head.
Hello, I'm Paul Daigle. I'm with Marathon County. I've been the Land and Water Program Director for about 10 years, and I've been in the conservation field my entire 35-year career.
My name is Dan Masterful. I'm approaching the end of my career and have the pleasure to serve as the county conservationist in Chippewa County for around 37 years.
Thank you all for being willing to share your experiences and perspectives with us today. So the first question I'd like to ask you all is, what is the single most important piece of advice that you can provide to a new Land Conservation Committee or LCC member?
Listen to your county conservation staff. And if you don't understand something, be sure to ask questions, either at the meetings or make an appointment to stop by their office. They're your county's experts in all things conservation. The staff not only have educational backgrounds that coincide with conservation and natural resource management, but they likely have many years of hands-on experience and institutional knowledge in their positions. So heed their advice when making your policy decisions.
I encourage you to sit down and get to know your county conservationists. Be curious. Find out their passion, what they want to accomplish. But also find out a way to share your passion and what you as a supervisor want to accomplish while you're on the committee and in a position to enact positive change. Schedule time to meet with them on a quarterly basis to check the base. Find out what's working well, what needs improvement, and how you can help.
Each committee member has an important responsibility as assigned to local elected officials by Wisconsin Statute Chapter 92. The work you do on the Land Conservation Committee will have a strong bearing on the local economy and on the quality of the environment where you live now, and it will extend well into the future. In Wisconsin, we have a great deal of diversity based upon our local geology and physical setting. Land conservation committees were created to assure that local conservation efforts are designed and implemented to meet local needs. In Wisconsin, we use the land and water to produce food, fuel, and fiber. Your job, as assigned by the legislature, is to assure that local policies, programs, and rules are in place to provide for sustainable production and a high-quality environment. The local issues of concern and the associated policy and programs that you use are outlined in your county land and water resource management plan. The plan provides a framework and activity schedule for the county's efforts and is routinely reviewed and updated every 5 to 10 years. The committee's responsibility is for addressing the policy issues and preparing budget recommendations. They have a policy role. The department staff's role is for day-to-day operations. They're responsible for the operations of the department. Working together, it's possible to identify and resolve local issues to make a difference that will be of direct value to your local community.
Thank you for those answers. Moving on to our second question, what is the best way for LCC members to constructively get engaged in the work of the Land Conservation Department?
First of all, get engaged and stay engaged. Nothing motivates staff like having an engaged supervisor. They feel support and that their work matters. Even if you don't agree on every topic, which you won't, let them know you are there for them. Also learn the high points of the long-range strategies in the department and in the county for conservation. Understand the broad initiatives and work to set and attain those goals. Try not to get involved in the day-to-day operations of your office. We have professional staff that are paid to run an efficient office, effective department. Let them do their jobs.
To be constructively engaged in the work of the department, a committee member needs to first come up to speed, generally by way of committee orientation, to learn what the local natural resource management issues are as defined in your county land and water plan, and how your county is allocating its available resources to address those issues. The plan is largely operational and defines the services that are being provided and the work that is being done. As the committee and staff approach the issues, local resources are always going to be limited. Staff hours, skill sets, time, money, and good energy are what you have to work with. It's up to the staff to conduct the day-to-day operations and to determine how to best manage the resources and get the job done. Ideally, the committee should be fully engaged and understand what the department is doing and what services it's providing. It should try to help to advance the scheduled objectives by way of the committee's budget and track progress towards achieving scheduled objectives, planned activities, and product deliverables via routine staff reports. In short, committee members can best be engaged by being informed and being supportive, and then through their engagement to provide a level of public oversight and accountability by way of constructive feedback or suggestions for improvement.
I would say expand your network as much as possible. All counties are essentially working toward similar conservation goals, but many times we go about meeting them very differently. By talking to and networking with other people in other counties, you can gain really valuable insight as to the different conservation topics. Networking is best accomplished by participating in regional land water association meetings or volunteering to serve in your Resource Conservation and Development Council, otherwise known as RCNDs. And last but not least, be sure to attend the annual Wisconsin Land and Water Conference because the networking possibilities are endless.
Thank you for those answers. And for our final question, what is the best way for an LCC member to develop a functional working relationship with the Land Conservation Department staff?
A good functional working relationship between an LCC member and the LCD staff should be built upon a foundation of mutual respect, trust, and a solid understanding of the roles and responsibilities of each party. The functional relationship should be used to meet shared public goals and objectives, and that of addressing the policy needs of the community and the operational needs of the department. In my opinion, this relationship can best be based upon a formal professional approach using kind of a business-based protocol that's applied to preserve a common set of public objectives versus trying to form a personal friendship-based relationship. Verbal and written communication should be cordial and based upon the business needs at hand. They should be short, clear, direct, and concise.
At times, you may experience disagreements with county staff about an issue or issues. When this happens, listen to both sides of the issue and respect others' points of views. If you find that you do have fundamental differences of opinion about something, learn how to work together on issues that you can and agree to respectfully disagree in a friendly way on those other matters.
I would encourage you to listen to understand, not necessarily reply. Understand the needs of your staff and how you can help to remove barriers to being efficient and effective. Don't feel like you have to be buddies with staff, but also make sure they know you care, that you want to understand, that you realize they're in conservation because of the passion you have to conserve the natural resources, not for the money.
I want to thank each of you for your participation and thoughtful responses today, for sharing your wisdom with others, and for most of all, for your longstanding commitment to conservation. I hope that viewers will have learned as much from our brief discussion today as I have. And this concludes the Advice for New LCCs from Seasoned County Conservation's video. Thank you for watching and for the work that you all do as conservationists. Hello, my name is Matt Kruger.
Okay, so that's it for our video today, and I just wanted to point out a couple key points. Dan Masterpole, he's the county conservationist that was there for 37 years. He really enforced the importance of understanding our county's land and water resource management plan. So that is the document that we updated last year. Every county is responsible for updating their land and water plan every 10 years. And this plan identifies the resource issues in the county. It also outlines all of the valuable resource assets we have. So if any of you need a copy of it, I did bring 2 extra copies today. Otherwise, I'd be happy to mail you one. And I'd encourage you to become familiar with our work plan that's in there. Or if you have questions and you want to come in and just have me review the plan with you sometime, I'd be happy to do that. Carolyn, on the video, she mentioned the annual Land and Water Conference. This is an excellent conference hosted by the State Association every year in March. Next year, this will be online. And that actually gives everybody on the committee an opportunity to view the conference virtually if you wish. I'd be happy to set that up at my office as well. And then one thing that Paul mentioned was to get engaged and stay engaged. So I hope that you can find passion in this committee and work with me to do our best job possible to protect the resources that we have in the county. All right, that's it for that topic. And once again, I do encourage you to look through the list that I gave you and feed me some ideas for future meetings.
Anybody have a comment on the video or something they would like to see in the future? Well, I even jotted down a few notes. One of the things he said was, we protect and use programs to take care of the food, water, and fiber, which is a necessity in America, a necessity for everybody. The other thing I wrote down is it's totally taken for granted. Why? For the last 80 years, there's always been plenty of food and everything. How do you sell? The LCCs pretty much know what we're here for. I mean, if we got a good communication with our conservationists, we know what we're here for and we know, are we selling that out to the public? Because our public has gone to law enforcement, electronics, health and human services. Those seem to be the priority, and none of them happen unless the conservation and the land is taken care of. So, you know, for our whole county board and this committee, I think it's a real priority to let them know the connection between food, water, and fiber and whatever else happens. So I think it's a good thing. I think this was a very good webinar, a very good video.
Thanks, George.
Anybody got a comment, question? If not, we are going to number 6, Water Quality Monitoring Program Cooperative Agreement. That was sent to you.
This is Joe Rose. I request to be recognized by the chair to share some information with you on item topic number 6.
Go ahead, Joe.
In the literature here, it says Global Minerals and LaPointe Iron Company are interested in partnering with Ashland County to establish a water quality monitoring program that will help provide a initial baseline data and support long-term data connection. Let me give you some information on Global Minerals and LaPointe Iron Company. Goes all the way back to the Treaty of LaPointe that was signed on September 30th, 1854, Madeline Island, LaPointe. By that time, the ceded territories had already been established in former treaties. That was the Treaty of 1836, 1837, and 1842. In the Treaty of 1854, the Ojibwe chiefs requested lands for their mixed bloods. This would be equivalent to 80-acre allotments that were granted to Bad River tribal members. But these were at the base of the Pinocchio Ridge, well within the ceded territories established by the treaties of 36, 37, and 42. Julius Austrian, a land speculator, convinced these allottees to appoint him as their power of attorney. In the process, Julius Austrian swindled them out of their lands. Julius Austrian became the first president of the LaPointe Iron Company. LaPointe Iron Company is now courting various mining corporations to begin mining these lands. Now that would be sulfide mining rather than the taconite mining that we just defeated when we shut down GTAC. One of my friends, Professor Larry Nesper from UW-Madison, one of my former students from Northland College have done extensive research on LaPointe Iron Company. And I think the Land and Water Conservation Committee should take a good look at this document before getting involved with LaPointe Iron Company and Global Minerals. I think Global Minerals is the same outfit as Global Engineering. Now I remember when Pete Russo was still county board chairman, he called me and he said that Global Engineering had approached him and they knew that we had shut down GTAC. So they were interested in what mistakes that GTAC had made, and they wanted to get information from Pete Russo, which he did not give them. So anyway, I'm dead against acknowledging either Global Minerals or LaPointe Iron Company, and I don't think we should get them involved with our water monitoring data collection and research. The meager $4,500 that they offer is not worth it, and I'm dead against it. Maybe we could request $4,500 from the $50,000 that was promised to the Ashland County Board by the City of Mellon to approve their request for a quit claim deed, which we're all familiar with. So I'm saying let's not include, let's not get involved with Global Minerals or LaPointe Iron Company. I do not think they should be acknowledged. We'll be in the same situation as we were with GTAC with the taconite mining, only this will be with sulfide mining, which is copper, gold, silver, precious metals, and so on. And again, it would threaten the entire Bad River watershed. So I'm dead against any involvement with Global Minerals or LaPointe Iron Company. Thank you.
This is Charlie Ortman. I'd like to comment on this too, if I might.
Come on, Charlie.
Can I give,
In a second, to get this on the floor. This is an action item. And, we
A little louder, I can't quite hear you.
we need to get this on the floor. We need a motion in a second to get this on the floor.
All right, this is Charlie Ortman. I'll motion to deny this.
I'll second that motion. Joe Rose.
Do we have anybody that would like to put it on the floor? We have a motion and a second to deny it, number 6. Is there any other discussion? We heard Joel.
Well, is that motion to deny, Charlie, is that motion to deny,
The action, yes.
Global Minerals and LaPointe Iron Company from getting involved with us?
To deny bringing it on the floor. See, in order to act on it or discuss it, we're supposed to have it on the floor.
Okay, all right.
So Charlie made a motion to deny number 6 action on the floor, and you seconded it.
Yeah, now we can discuss.
Okay,
can I provide any background?
Huh?
Can I provide any background information?
Well, yeah, I got, wait, no, we gotta act on the motion now. So the motion is to deny it. Now we do have a discussion, why we're gonna deny it. So Charlie, you're first.
Okay, thank you. Well, I agree with a lot of Joe's points. My main concern in, I have an issue with private-public partnerships in anything where they might lead the public to think that the private partnership would gain some advantage or has something in mind that they want from their partnership. And it's clear to me that LaPointe Iron, or whoever this is, whatever name they're going under, but it's all the Congdons, I believe, they are trying to get a mine going in there. And the first thing that would happen to us if we agreed to let anyone representing an interest that wants to mine in this area would be the public would claim, and perhaps rightfully so, that they have an unfair advantage because now they're funding the work that may or may not be germane in any approvals they might seek later. So it sets up an unfair balance, and it's not good governance, in my opinion. I wouldn't vote for any public-private partnerships where there's a quid pro quo that is not, that would appear to be a conflict of interest, or even maybe be an actual conflict of interest. So once you start taking money from somebody, now the taxpayers fund everything else, but are they going to get the same say, you know, if they only fund X amount? I think the taxpayers need to fund all of this, and that way when permits come around, there's nobody that has an extra foot in the door, or, you know, could be pointed to be said and have it said, oh, well, they funded this, so you guys tainted the data in their favor or against their favor, whatever. It just sets up the potential to ruin the perceived objectivity of any permitting activities of any company if they're paying for the work that's done that would weigh in those permits. So just on good governance back alone, I think this should be denied, and I don't think and I think, to me, that's just clear as day. This shouldn't even be considered. And that way, when LaPointe, if they ever down the road try to get a permit, it's better for them too. It can't be said that they unfairly influenced this, and any opposers can't say that the data was unfairly created. So, you know, for $5,000 or $16,000, I think we find untainted money that doesn't go back to anybody, or we find it ourselves, we have the taxpayers pay for it, and then the quality of that work is undeniable and unquestionable. Thank you.
Anybody else want to zero in on this?
We should have a staff report on every action item. The staff should have a report for the policy centers. to hear
Correct,
staff.
but this right now, we're in committee discussion.
I
Go
haven't
ahead.
even had a chance to give any background information on
Uh-huh.
this. I haven't had a chance to give any background information on this.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
John has the floor.
Yeah, I have a little question about this idea is that
A little louder, I can't hear you.
I have a little idea about the situation is that I feel that these other places have the right to proceed what they want to do too. I mean, I'm for the water quality, but it also involves if people have the rights to do what they want to do, such as not funding this water quality program.
Any other committee member want to say something before I let Mary Jo zero in on the explanation? If not, go ahead, Mary Jo.
Okay, I just want to give you a little bit of background about this project. There is a proposal in your packet that explains some of this. But basically, what we're looking at in the Chequamegon Bay is that we have excessive sedimentation in the Chequamegon Bay and in the broader Lake Superior region. Sedimentation is our greatest non-point source pollution challenge that we face. It has been documented that the Bad River contributes the largest amount of sedimentation to Lake Superior, and we believe that the Marengo River is the largest contributor of sediment to the Bad River. Why do we care about sedimentation? Sedimentation degrades our water quality. It degrades our habitat of that water body as a resource. Yet, even though we believe that the Marengo is the largest contributor of sediment, there's a lack of consistent quantitative data. For many years, resource managers, not just land conservation staff, but U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the U.S. Geological Survey, DNR, many of us have wanted to study the Marengo River, given its location in the watershed, given the historical land use of the region dating back to the forest cutover and the agricultural history through the 1920s up until today, and the fact that we do know about non-point pollution contribution to Lake Superior. However, we have not had a chance to fully study this topic. There's been lack of funding, lack of staffing resources, which have limited the implementation of such research, monitoring, and restoration. Resource managers have identified that reducing the volume of water and the velocity of runoff to streams of the Marengo through slow the flow practices is critical to improving the health of this watershed. So that's the problem background. Global Minerals approached me probably about a year ago with a proposal to do some water quality monitoring, and they're working with LaPointe Iron Company. They're interested in partnering with Ashland County to establish a water quality monitoring program that will help provide us initial baseline data, and it would support long-term data collection. The project would allow our department to collect monthly water samples, pay for lab analysis, and allow the data to be entered into the public DNR data reporting system, which is known as SWIMS. LaPointe worked with the Land Conservation Department and the United States Geological Survey to develop the proposed plan in your packet, which includes monitoring at 3 sites on the Marengo River. A monitoring program would document water quality as it is today. It would help us evaluate proposed watershed restoration activities in the future. My staff would collect the samples and we would measure field parameters in the Marengo. The water samples would be collected according to the U.S. Geological Survey protocols, and they'd be analyzed at state labs, such as the PACE Analytical Lab in Green Bay and the State Laboratory of Hygiene in Wisconsin. We would also have some sampling done through Northland College. The Land Conservation Department would also gain information about water quality decline from fecal coliform in the river. And we would be better suited to applying for future grants to improve land uses and overall watershed conditions. The USGS would work with us to provide flow data through a joint funding agreement, which is also part of this project. LaPointe would pay for all of the sample analysis and shipping costs, and they would provide funding for a student worker to help with our data sampling and data management. If approved, the sample collection would either begin this fall or next spring. The program
The only thing is, get a little bit more crispy up.
would continue for at least 5 years, but it would be reviewed on an annual basis and be adjusted as needed. So you can read that information in your packet and the proposal. The total project cost, estimated cost, is $16,572. That would pay for staff to conduct sampling at 3 locations on the Marengo. It would also pay for the USGS to conduct stream flow discharge monitoring rates. It would pay for all of the state lab analysis. It would also pay for E. coli sampling and data surveying at Northland College. That's all I have, George.
Anybody else wanna make a comment?
Mary Jo, this is Paul. Is it appropriate for me to talk a little bit about our background?
George, this is Paul Eager from Global Minerals.
When?
Well, thank
Yes.
you. So I'm Paul Eager, and I'm an environmental engineer with Global Minerals Engineering. And so I thought I should give a little background about our interest and LaPointe Iron's interest, and why we're interested in supporting these types of activities. So LaPointe Iron, as was mentioned, is a land and mineral owner in Ashland and Iron County. They obviously have an interest in future mineral development, but they are not going to be the developer. They are looking for people who are interested in developing that resource. So LaPointe Iron will never be actually looking for a permit of its own. The president of LaPointe Iron is a scientist, and he's very interested in collecting good data so that future land use decisions, whether it's mining or other industrial activity, or CAFOs, that there is a good baseline available to the counties for future land use planning. And so decisions in the future can be made based on science and not social media. I think we all learned a lot from the GTAC experience. We actually gave a presentation to the Iron County Board about some of the things that we've learned, and it was certainly, I'm willing to share that with you. We also presented at some of the national and local mining conferences about some of the lessons that were learned. And so LaPointe has been very interested in working with the communities because it is a member of the community. And they are also concerned about conservation and clean water and clean air. As was mentioned earlier, everything springs from good air, good water, and good land. And so I think as a community, we share a lot of common resources and common values. And so these kinds of programs, and this is based on a model that we've been doing with Iron County very successfully for the past, this is our 4th season, of collecting baseline information for Iron County so that they can use that in future land use planning decisions and to evaluate future proposals. LaPointe Iron does not own any land in the Montreal watershed where we are actually monitoring. The mineral development if there was mineral development, there would be in Iron County, but not in that particular watershed. So it is just really kind of a scientific endeavor. I used to work for the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, a division of lands and minerals in the Reclamation Department. And one of my major functions there was to do cooperative research. And that involved the Department of Natural Resources working with industry and taking industry money to solve problems. It was controversial when it started because DNR was a regulatory agency. We had regulatory authority. But this was the way we built relationships, we better understood the problems, and we came up with solutions, cost-effective solutions for the industry, which benefited everyone. So I know that there's always that concern when public agencies take money from private, but there are models where it's worked very well. And I'm just, I'm interested in, my primary interest as an environmental engineer is, protecting the environment and improving it. And as Mary Jo said, the Marengo watershed is impacted. There's a lot of momentum now to try to build relationships to kind of make improvements in this watershed, and we're excited to be part of it. And so I'd be happy to take, if there's particular questions, I'd be happy to try to address them.
This is Charlie Ortman. May I speak, please?
Go ahead.
May I address Paul directly, or is that inappropriate? I'll address my comments to the chair.
Charlie's asking if he can address Paul directly.
Sure.
Yes, Charlie, you can address Paul.
Okay, well, I guess I'll be addressing everyone anyway, but Paul, I appreciate what you're doing, and I understand the company's desires to, I mean, every company where they want to go and do something wants to have the goodwill of the community. We have a very, it's very factionalized here. There's big supporters of mining, and they're very zealous, and there's anti-mine people, and they're very zealous. And as a government here, we have to serve both. And we cannot set up any kind of situation that may or may not look like an advantage to either side, because either side will leap on that so hard. And I think appropriately, because as good governors, we need to make sure that anything we do that affects the entire area is balanced and done objectively and doesn't have any one side appear to have any point of advantage. And clearly your job is to try to make, and maybe it will actually be that way, that the company is full of goodwill and has only good things in mind for this community. But at the end of the day, somebody wants to mine here. And all of your actions are, and your recommendations for the people you advise are to find ways to get the community to buy into a mine. And the dumbest of the anti-mine people will jump on that and figure it out. And not that I'm saying that they're dumb, but this is so obvious. This is an obvious tactic. And as you said, it's been going on for 4 years now in Iron County. And the only end goal of this is to make permitting easier and have the community feel comfortable that their water isn't going to be polluted or whatever. But anyway, your end goal is clear to everybody. And I'm not saying it's a good or a bad end goal. It's an end goal of mining. To me, as a representative of my community in the political side, the governance side, I have to focus on good governance. And I can never support to set up that kind of advantage for either side. Everything has to be objective and neutral. And if we start taking money, then that objectivity is questionable very easily. So for that reason alone, I can't support, I support this program, but I can't support taking money from private industry for it. If we can find money, and I will try to find money, I like this idea, but we need to fund it with funds that will not bring into question any balance of power. Thank you.
Joe Rose, request to be recognized by the chair.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to deny Global Minerals and LaPointe Iron Company's involvement in Ashland County's water quality monitoring program.
That motion is already on the floor, Joe. That's what we're discussing. Charlie made
Okay.
a motion to deny the action and you seconded it. That's why we're discussing
Right,
it.
okay.
Anybody else want to zero in on this before we vote on it? Go ahead, John.
I agree with Charlie on some of the, on the others, saying that I think that everything is pushed one way, unbalanced. I believe that I am for mining and I am for Ambridge also, so the one-sided for me really ain't gonna work.
Anybody else? Go ahead,
I have
Joe.
a question. May I be recognized by the chair? I have a question.
Go ahead.
Has the Bad River Tribe been involved in this?
No, they are conducting some of their own water quality sampling, but that would be downstream of where we are proposing. So I have talked to members at the Natural Resource Department about us trying to get a program going. And it would basically complement their work because we would be monitoring upstream, trying to determine what the water quality is and what the flow patterns are in the upper reaches of the Marengo, which they are also interested in that data. And they have showed interest that we would share the data that each of us are collecting, but they haven't been involved in the writing of this proposal. I have involved them in conversations that we are trying to get a program going and that we're interested in building a water quality program, and they're supportive of that concept.
I think Bad River Tribe should be involved in this process. Bad River Tribal Government, that is.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, I just was wondering what's wrong with checking the streams for sediment. It's not like you can get money just anywhere to try to fund this. It sounds to me like it's kind of a neutral company that's just, you know, maybe they do have ulterior motives, but all we're doing right now is just checking the streams, and I guess I can't see anything wrong with that. If people want to read something into it, I guess that's what they're going to probably do anyway. So that's just my thought on it.
Let them do it on their own.
Yeah, I think it's a win-win for us. I mean, it just shows us what's in the stream. It's not, you got to have a baseline if you're ever going to do anything. You can't just like say, oh yeah, all this pollution's coming from the mine. If the mine does come 10 years from now, at least this way we'll have a baseline of what the stream actually looked like before, you know, the mine came in. I guess that's about all I'm going to say.
George.
Go ahead, Doreen.
I do not see anything in the contract that binds the county to any future approval of any permits for the mining. And as written, I think it's like Carol said, a neutral contract.
Anybody else? Well, here's my recollection.
This is Charlie Ortman. I'd like to speak.
Go ahead, Charlie.
I agree that we need to do these studies. I just think we got to be careful who we take money from to pay for them, because it sets up a perception of a conflict. And I don't think as good governance, we should be doing that, especially for such a small amount of money as this that we can find. I think we can find this pretty easily. Now, if LaPointe Mining or Global Engineering wants to make an anonymous donation and drop it on the desk of Clark and say what it would like it spent on, and then there's no connection, no one can make a connection to the point to argue bad governance happened, but to let just anybody fund anything, well, clearly, if somebody wants to fund something, they're not doing it out of the good graces of their heart. People don't just come and throw money at things altruistically that way, or except maybe philanthropic organizations. I don't believe that this USGS La Pointe is a philanthropic organization. So the study needs to happen. We just got to be careful who funds it. That's my only point. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right.
I don't know if
Here's
it's
the situation. Personally, I don't believe the Marengo River puts more sediment into Lake Superior. I think Bad River on its own probably puts more in there. If you ever seen the, go to the trestles, the rail trestles, there's 200 feet, things there that flow into the river every year. I know the White River, I've been here all my life. The White River probably stays muddy longer than the Marengo does today after all the cattle been taken off of the grounds and not pastured on the rivers anymore. So, no, I think that there's more sediment comes off the White River and Bad River than Marengo. The reason they want to use the Marengo River is through the last 20 years, we have always given the Marengo River, anybody wanted to run a test on it, flow the flow. When we were a poor county, nobody wanted to do that. We always took that on ourselves, and we always used the Marengo River. I think we would love to see somebody come in and help us see where the sediment's coming. Can we slow it? I don't know. We've had projects through Pryruta and that. Nobody seems to really care. I said after we took the cattle off the rivers, we should be getting oak and plantation. Nobody had any interest in it whatsoever. Because it always takes money and it always takes work, and we're never going to get any volunteers to do that. One thing I would ask you, Mary Jo, I see Altman Road and that's in Bayfield County. Is Bayfield County going to be part of this? Can we just go up there and monitor up in Altman Road? So the other thing, when I read through the article, it said that if it passes in next week, they might be able to start this year, but more than likely next spring. So if we deny this action, we still got all winter to work on it. Mary Jo can take another couple of stabs at it, so to speak. And so if it's your pleasure, I think we'll vote on it. And the motion is to deny number 6 action. And it was seconded. And being that we don't have everybody here, I think we'll need to do a roll call vote on it. And the action, if you vote yes, that means we're going to deny action 6. If you vote no, then that means we'll continue to vote on this resolution that would go to the county board next Tuesday. So you want to call a roll on it?
Well, I'm confused as to whether to vote yes or no.
The motion is to deny the Water Quality Monitoring Program cooperative agreements. If you vote yes, you are voting to deny the agreements. If you vote no, that means you're in favor of the agreements.
Well, what I'm concerned about is global management and La Pointe Iron Company being involved in it. And I think we can do this without denying the whole shooting match.
Excuse me, Joel. The discussion is over and we're going to vote on it. We can bring this back to our committee half a dozen times in the future. So if if you vote yes on this motion, we're gonna deny the, quality monitoring, resolution that would go to the board. And that's what I've asked Mary Jo to call that roll.
Mr. Chairman, could I speak?
Go ahead.
Jerry Richardson. I think Joe, my understanding is what I'm getting from it is Joe is not against the testing, keeping a test on the water. He is against LaPointe being involved. And that's what our discussion was. And I'm under the understanding that his motion was that we do not want LaPointe involved because they got too many, we probably assume they may have some personal interests down the road. Is that correct, Joe?
No,
That's correct.
let me speak on it. Do you have the packet in front of you, Jerry?
Yes.
All right, number 6 says an action on the water quality monitoring program cooperative agreement. The motion is to deny it and second it. If you want to talk about this stuff in later time, that's perfect. But right now we're voting on that action. We're not changing as to who we think it is gonna. This is the action, and it's in your packet. The resolution, everything is in your packet.
That's not the motion that I made.
If you deny this, then we'll go back. Mary Jo's got time to go back to the drawing board and give us more information or answer more questions. I think what happened here is it was put in front of us as a very positive thought, and there's some discretion against it. That's all. So, you know.
That's not the motion Joe made, though.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. That isn't the motion that I made. You changed my motion.
You made, excuse me, Joe, you made a motion to deny number 6.
No, I did not. I made a motion to deny Global Management and LaPointe Iron Company's involvement in number 6. I'm all for number 6.
Who made the motion?
But I don't want LaPointe. I don't want LaPointe. I don't want Global Management and LaPointe involvement in number 6. That was my motion.
That's what I understood also, Joe.
This is Charlie Ortman. I believe I made the motion.
Yeah.
Charlie made the motion to deny number 6 and you seconded it.
Now, let me explain.
It has nothing to do with LaPointe and that right now. It
Right,
has
and
to do with,
we can bring this agreement back up later without LaPointe in it, is what George is trying to say. This doesn't kill the agreement. This just kills that LaPointe's involved in it. Mary Jo
Right.
can go back and think of some other way to get that money, and we can renegotiate a different kind of agreement that still does this sampling but doesn't involve money from LaPointe. Is that
Right. That's my understanding of the whole shooting match.
The motion that's proposed to
Before the
you,
full county board.
the motion that is proposed to you in item 6 is a motion to approve the LaPointe Ashland County Water Quality Program Cooperative Agreement.
Well, does that agreement include Global Management and LaPointe Iron Company?
it does.
Yes.
And
Well,
that's
I'm
why,
against that. Which way do I vote?
that's why Charlie made the motion to deny this action and Joe seconded it. It has nothing to do now with the mining company or anything else. That will be in discussion after we make our vote. So once again, I asked Mary Jo to take a roll call vote on it. A yes means we deny number 6, a no means we're gonna continue on with it. Everybody got that straight?
Joe
Yeah.
Rose. Joe Rose.
Well, I'm not going to approve this. Well, let's see. I'm not going to approve this until
Joe, do you understand what the vote is for? If you vote yes, you're voting against the resolution.
Well, the resolution as it stands, I do not approve of it.
Then you vote yes. That's all there is to it.
Charlie made a
well,
motion, Charlie made a motion to deny the water quality monitoring program agreements. The motion that Charlie made is to deny these agreements. If you vote yes, you are denying the signing of these agreements. If you vote no, you're in favor of these agreements. Jerry Richards.
Charlie, I'd like to hear from Charlie once more on this.
No,
I'm a
we're-
little
we're past
confused
that.
as to what we're doing here.
We're past that.
Roll call, Gerald Richardson,
Yes.
Carol Peck. No. Dick Poofall.
No.
Charles Ortman,
Yes.
John Wiener. Doreen Hannanen,
No.
George Mika,
Yes.
Joe Rose.
Yes,
All right, motion is denied, so we will not be going ahead with this program right now. That'll give Mary Jo some time to come up with some more information and more discussion. And anybody wants to talk with Mary Jo, she's in her office, stop in and discuss it with her. She's always open to a discussion and always wants people, especially our LCC, to come in and talk to her. So please do that.
If you're bringing money, that's preferred.
Okay, number 7, that would deny number 7, so we don't have to act on number 7. Correct? Or do we gotta deny that one too?
No, number 7 is a resolution to write a grant
So
for a stream flow gauge on the Marengo River.
it's different.
This is different.
All right, go ahead and explain that one. We're on number 7 now. We're done with number 6. That was defeated. We will not be going ahead with the monitoring cooperative agreement as of yet. Go ahead, Mary Jo.
Okay, so number 7 is working with the United States Geological Survey again. This would be to install elevation gauges and a large-scale stream flow gauging station on the Marengo River. This would help us document water quality to evaluate proposed watershed restoration activities that we're currently working on. This is very similar to the last proposal, but this is a separate station completely. This station would collect continuous stream flow elevation data from precipitation and storm events. It would also collect information on temperature and sediment. This would be a permanent station that would be set up on the Marengo. And we would have to apply for a Wisconsin DNR surface water grant on November 1st to pay for this. The grant total is $49,500 to fund the installation and the initial maintenance of a gauging station. Annual maintenance of this in subsequent years would be supported by a combination of different resource management partners. And we are still looking for the partners to be able to fund that annually after the initial installation.
What are you looking for? A motion to support it, providing we get the money?
Do you want me to read the resolution?
Go ahead.
Okay. The resolution to support an Ashland County surface water grant application for a Marengo River stream flow gauge. Whereas large-scale land conversion, including forest removal and agriculture at the turn of the 20th century across northern Wisconsin, had tremendous effects on the Marengo River watershed, yielding unstable streams overloaded with sediment and reducing the quality of aquatic habitat. And whereas these effects are still being felt today, coupled with unprecedented floods and exacerbated by human activity, these impacts prevent the watershed from achieving its full habitat potential and improving its resilience to climate change and other disturbances. And whereas wetlands have been lost from gullying associated with multiple record floods, and floodplains have been filled with excessive sediment, reducing floodplain storage. And whereas reducing volume and velocity of stream runoff is critical to protecting and improving watershed health, and it involves both restoration and protection activities. And whereas the Ashland County Land and Water Conservation Department recognizes that baseline stream data is needed to better quantify hydrology and flood characteristics for making sound decisions on locations of land conservation, wetland restoration, and stream connectivity projects. And whereas a grant agreement is requested to install a real-time stream flow gauging station with continuous water quality sensors in the Marengo River. And now therefore be it resolved that the Ashland County Land and Water Conservation Department will meet the financial obligations to fully and satisfactorily complete the project, and hereby authorizes the county conservationist to submit required documents to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources for financial assistance. Be it further resolved that the applicant will comply with all local, state, and federal rules, regulations, and ordinances relating to this project and the cost share agreement. The recommended motion is to approve the resolution to support an Ashland County surface water grant application for a Marengo River stream flow gauging station and forward to the Ashland County Board for approval.
I need a motion.
Joe Rose, request recognition by the chair.
Go ahead. Well, let's get it on the floor first. I need a
What's
motion
that?
to get it on the floor.
All right.
Anybody gonna make a motion to put it on the floor?
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to put it on the floor.
Doreen make a motion. Who is that?
Joe.
Joe, go ahead, and Joe seconds it. Now go ahead, Joe.
Okay, I was going to make a motion to accept the resolution, but I guess we got to discuss this first.
The motion's been made and seconded already. Now the discussion is open. Now you can discuss.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Clarification, he said he wanted to make a motion to accept the resolution.
Yeah, but Doreen already did that.
She made a motion to open it on the floor.
No, when you make a motion, you make a motion to accept this, and it's seconded to accept it. Then the discussion, then you vote on
Is that your motion?
I made a motion to put it on the floor.
it. You don't make a motion to discuss it. It's already here, so you make a motion to bring it on the floor. We can deny it or accept it, just like we did the last one. But when you make a motion, you make a motion to bring this on the floor to discuss it. Because really, there's no discussion unless you bring it on the floor, but it's an action item. So Doreen made a motion, Joe seconded it, it's on the floor. Do we have any discussion on it?
Mary
Joe,
Jo,
you want to discuss something? Anybody else want to say something?
I just have a question for Mary Jo.
Go ahead, Doreen.
So there's no match to the grant then, but we are responsible for the cost of completing and maintaining the project thereafter?
Right now, we do not have a way to fund it ongoing. The grant would be for the initial installation and maintenance in the first year. USGS has agreed to help fund future maintenance. We're talking to Bad River Tribal Natural Resources about partnering with us. I would be looking for money in my department to be helping to fund it. So right now, we don't have a budget for future years. The grant would pay to install it and get it all set up. There would be a match required, but that would be in kind through my time. And so that would not be a financial burden on the county.
This is
Any other discussion?
I would like to speak. Charlie. Mary Jo, what is the usual maintenance cost of these things once they're established yearly? Do you know?
I think it's somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000.
Okay, thank you.
So this resolution, if we pass it, Mary Jo will be applying for a grant to start this project out. Any other discussion? If none, all in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Number 8, 2021 wildlife damage budget. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, for the microphone here, Steve.
Well, if everybody's got their sheet in front of you, going over the Ashland County budget for the wildlife damage program, the salaries remain the same as last year, and same with pretty much most of the office expenses. On our sheet here, everything else below that, temporary fencing, bear abatement, is specific only to Ashland County. I work with 4 counties, so the top 3 items are split for 4 counties. The rest are all Ashland County expenses alone. So this year's, or 2021's budget will be slightly higher because of the higher other abatement potential. So I increased that about $2,000. And I believe the bear abatement went down slightly. So venison administration and processing will be the same for next year. So the total budget, $30,464.
This is Charles Ortman. May I be recognized?
You need a motion to bring it on the floor.
George, this is Charlie. I will move to approve the abatement budget.
Do we have a second?
Or this is Jerry Richardson, and I second the motion.
All right, we got a motion and a second to approve Dave's abatement and claims program. Any discussion on that?
Again, it should mention that it's funded by the DNR.
Correct. You had Ashland County's budget draft in your packet. If you're looking at it, the small print says we expect to assist 8 growers with damage that may result in claim request equaling or exceeding $15,000 in value. So that's the program. Any other discussion? And what you're doing is you're approving me to sign it on behalf of the Land Conservation Department. Any discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I will sign that.
Thanks, Dave.
Number 9, 2021 Land Conservation Department Budget Review. That would be Mary Jo.
Okay, so item 9 doesn't require any action. I just wanted to let you all see the proposed budget. This was submitted in August. So you're looking at the long, yes, the long sheet in your packet that's color coded. So we were asked to submit a budget this year for no increases. So if you make comparisons to what was adopted in 2020 versus what's adopted or requested, I should say, requested in 2021, you'll notice overall that down towards the bottom in the pink bars, the total expenses for last year were $486,618. Going into 2021, our expenses are increasing substantially to $609,266. But then if you look down at the very bottom under the revenues, there's a list of all of our revenues and what sources our revenues are being generated from. We do have a couple of new grants, and we have the Wisconsin DNR Act 157. That's the money from the Wisconsin State Legislature from the general purpose funds. That money will be used to implement our flood demonstration mitigation projects next year, and some money from FEMA. So if you look at the very bottom of the page, under 2021, we were bringing in, under 2020, we were bringing in about 415,000, and projected into 2021, we're expecting $559,841. So overall, our budget is actually, the operating cost to the county is actually decreasing because of the amount of money that we're bringing in on grants. One thing that I did point out to the Finance Committee is that generating these types of grants is probably not sustainable. It's a lot of work at the staff level. And we have 8 different grants that we're going to be working on next year. All of this grant money is either generating revenue for the county. It's also providing funding to private landowners to implement conservation projects on their landscape. This would be improving their lands. And it's also providing funding for local contractors to put them to work on the landscape. So I would be happy to entertain any questions that you might have on any of these individual line items. As I mentioned, this has been submitted to the county. The only place that you'll actually see likely another decrease on here will be under our travel line or under our training line, as we are not expecting to be able to attend any trainings in person next year. We know for sure that our state conference is already going virtual for next March. So we are looking at reducing some of our training and travel money to help balance the budget at the county level in 2021. I did have a conversation yesterday with the Army Corps of Engineers over in Detroit. We are looking at requesting another large pot of money to further implement more flood storage work in the Marengo River. So we have a couple of additional wetlands that we're looking at working on that would be in addition to our Act 157 money of the $150,000. And this could generate an additional $300,000 for Ashland County for next year. So I should know within a month if we're going to be approved for that funding or not. And that would not include any additional expenses. We would use existing staff to implement that money on the ground.
Any questions or comments on the budget? You got it in front of you.
This is Charlie Ortman. May I comment?
What do you need?
Can you hear me, George? Mary Jo, have you and Clark discuss this at all? Is there any tentative feelings about it? Look good, or you still need to reduce, anything like that?
Us department heads have not been contacted individually and asked to further reduce our budgets.
Okay, Clark, are you around?
Yes.
Have you had a chance to review these yet towards any, further reductions or anything like that? Do you have any feelings towards that?
Yeah, we basically have been looking at each individual budget, the processes, the department heads submit it to me. I talk to them individually about issues. We have basically removed, like I said, travel, training. We've moved purchases that we can move into debt levy. As you know, we are significantly in the hole, a few $100,000. And so we're asking every department to cut back on those issues. We're asking outside entities to cut back on their requests that we would give them. And then we're actually going to be talking about this at the county board meeting on Tuesday, the 6th. We're going to be going over the budget with the full county, because one of the options to fix the county budget would be to look at a wheel tax in order to support county operations. Right now, the budget is balanced with $250,000 taken from the bank, an unsustainable model to balance the budget. And I want the county board to weigh in on that decision on October 6th. After that, the finance committee will look at the budget one more time on October 15th. And then finally, the county board will need to approve the budget on November 10th or 12th, or whenever that second Tuesday is of the month. So that's kind of the budgetary process and timeline we're working with.
Okay, so it wouldn't be unreasonable for us to expect that we might need to reduce this budget in particular a little more before the end of this.
Well, that would be one of the things we'd have to look at to decide how would we reduce the budget. Would we reduce basically, really, you're talking about staff and wages and benefits and healthcare. And, if you basically, the problem with, some departments that are generating money like grants, like conservation, is if you cut back on staff, you're going to have to cut back on revenue because you're not going to get the grants. Health and Human Services has a number of different positions that are either totally funded by state, or they're partially funded. So again, reducing staff or benefits to them reduces your revenue. It's very hard to adjust this budget, at this point. I think one of the things that we'll be looking at the county board is, do we want to fix the hole for the budget with the wheel tax for 2021 and work on 21 to look for a long range sustainable model, which is that a referendum? Is that some sort of change to state law? Is there some other way that we can make a sustainable government? Because it is against best practices to take money out of a bank to balance a budget.
Okay, so what I think I'm hearing is that this budget is relatively stable now, but we have to do something for the future. Is that correct?
Yes, I basically recommend, I'm going to be recommending a budget pretty much as is for this one department also, in addition to the others, that as we've made accommodations and recommendations already to the county board on the 6th. The county board then will take a look at adopt that budget, make changes if they wish, and then also look at year 21 as how do we sustain government operations? And again, those are all the options we have. There's a bunch of options I'll be discussing at the county board to how do we make a sustainable government.
Okay, thank you very much, Clark. I appreciate that.
No problem.
That's all I have. Thank you.
George, I have one more point.
Good.
I just wanted to point out one additional thing. This is Mary Jo. If you look at the pink line throughout the years, going back to 2018, and you look at our total expenses, and I would ask you to look at the operating cost. That shows the negative. That is typically what the cost has been to the county to operate this department, given the revenues and the expenditures that we have. So for 2021, we're decreasing the cost reliant on the county. And part of that is because the number of grants that we're bringing in and the number of revenue sources. So then once again, when you look down at the very bottom of the page, we're increasing that revenue substantially in the last 3 to 4 years. And I just want to make sure that in the future, when we are not able to write these types of grants or sustain the demand that it takes to manage these, that we're not ultimately penalizing our department. Okay, right now we are bringing in a lot of money to the county and a lot of revenue. And so that is lessening our need from an operating expense to the county. And we're providing an exceptional benefit to our landowners, our contractors in the county, the general improvement in water quality. And in the future, when we don't have that type of revenue generated and we do have more reliance on operating costs from the county, I just want to make sure that we're not ultimately penalized for going after these types of grants and being aggressive with grant writing. Thank you.
Questions or comments for Mary Jo? If not, we're gonna move on to number 10, action item 2020 Wildlife Damage Program Budget Amendment. That would be Dave.
All right, the budget amendment for the wildlife damage program for 2020. We're requesting an increase of $8,000 to our abatement project budget. And that'll increase the budget from $27,615 to $35,615. The extra money was needed for a large abatement project that we have for silage bag covers for a producer in Ashland County. There was only $4,000, I believe, in the budget to start with, and we needed an extra $8,000. So the appropriate thing to do was we need to have this budget. It's called a mid-year budget amendment most of the time. We need to have that approved so I can set the budget higher at the state to approve these claims and expenditures.
We need a motion to put it on the floor. And
Jerry, Rick, I have a motion to move. I make a motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
I'll second.
Jerry made a motion, Charlie seconded it to approve. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is Charlie. So Dave, is this gonna cost the county anything?
No, this is all Department of Natural Resources funded projects, so nothing to the county. None of my expenses, my salary, or any of the expenses for the program is out of the county's budget.
And so your having to bring this to us is just because they require it in order for you to request this extra money? So that just informing us basically, or what?
Yeah, it has to be approved by the LCC in order to increase my budget at the state level to be able to pay these expenses.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? The motion was made and seconded for the chair to sign this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. And then we'll go right into the next one, number 11, 2020 Wildlife Damage Program Deer Donation Program.
Yes, annually, Ashland County has participated in this program for at least 20 years. And annually, we need approval by the committee for Ashland County to participate. And we're already in the game already. I've signed up the processor and also a food pantry. So this is a formal approval needed here.
Bring it on the floor.
Charlie Ortman, I'll move to approve.
Jerry Richardson, I second.
Motion been made and seconded by Charlie and Jerry to approve the number 11. Any other discussions? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Agent reports. Do you have any agent reports here?
I'm not sure if Gary's on the phone or not.
If not, the LWCD staff reports.
Okay, so did everybody pick up a stack of staff reports when you came in? They are printed.
Send those out to the people online?
No. Dave, did you want to start or should I start? Okay.
Well, I guess the reports aren't on the television here, so anyway, right now this time of the year, I'm busy doing corn appraisals for bear damage. Also, like I mentioned earlier, I have enrolled Pure Sausage into the wildlife damage deer donation program. Also Hirsch up in Poplar for Douglas County. And let's see, I also run the no-till program, and so far we've got just over 200 acres on the planter for this year. There was recently out 2 weeks ago was the last usage. And the bear trapping this year is up considerably in the 4 counties. I think last year there was only less than 20, and this year so far there's been 40 in Bayfield and Iron County, along with at least 8 in Douglas. I haven't got a final figure on that. But anyway, a lot more damage probably taking place this year. That's pretty much about it. In a couple more months, I'll have the USDA APHIS bear relocation contracts coming up, so we'll have those to present, approved for the signature here to participate for next year. And that's about it. Anybody got any questions?
Any questions for Dave?
Yes, John?
Has this survey been down since last year or up since last year on the work field work?
The field appraisals? I do field appraisals for anybody that requests them that are in the program for the bear damage. And so far I've been on 2 different farms, not quite done totally in Iron County with Kretzmars up there. I still got 2 more in Bayfield County and 2 in Douglas County potential claims.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yeah, John, all the bear that we catch up here, we take them to Glidden.
I know that. We still pick up the
Well, that's why they're named, aren't they the bear capital of Wisconsin?
Any other questions or comments? If none, thanks, Dave. Mike or Scott, are they on the line?
No, they are not on the line.
Okay, you have both Mike's report here, all the projects.
Yep, and I can give a brief update on this. So Mike is working with a total of 8 landowners this year on conservation practices. These would be either erosion control or water quality improvement types of practices. You can see the list of the landowners. Mike's report looks like this. So he's working with 8 different landowners, and he has a total of 11 cost share practices that he's working on. These practices include livestock watering facilities, so that would be putting in wells and pipelines and watering tanks for livestock. We're also working on a couple of different wetland restoration projects, stream crossings and access roads on farmland, and a number of livestock fencing projects. He's also working on a barnyard runoff system with Mr. Reamer. So a number of those projects have been completed to date. It looks like we have 2 or 3 projects that are still being implemented right now, and those should wrap up before the end of November. We have 1 project, an access road and a stream crossing that still needs DNR approval, and we've gotten a little bit backed up on that because we were waiting for a company to come in from Minnesota to do some soil borings to be able to put pylons into the stream for the stream crossing. So that project has been moved into 2021. Otherwise, we are expecting the rest of those will be completed this year. So if you have any questions, I can try to answer them. Otherwise, I can also have Mike get in touch with you when he's back from duck hunting next week.
Any questions? If not, Scott's report was sent to you. I think it's here.
Yep, Scott's report is up there. He's our aquatic invasive species coordinator. He's done an excellent job this year. He worked on hiring 2 interns for the summer. So we were able to have 2 summer staff. They worked out at boat landings on Lake Superior, both at Crayer Park and over at Second Landing. They inspected over 775 boats, and basically what they're doing is looking for aquatic invasive species on those boats and trying to prevent any spread inland to our inland lakes. Our county thrives on tourism dollars and recreation, so it's highly important for us to protect our water resources. And one of the ways that we protect our water resources is through preventing the spread of aquatic invasive species. Those interns provided some education and boat inspections, and then they also communicated with more than 1,700 people at those 2 landings, and they logged 435 hours. That program is run through our Wisconsin Clean Boats, Clean Waters program. That's a grant program, so we're able to apply for grant funding to hire and employ those summer staff. Scott also works on citizen lake monitoring. So he trains citizens and lake property owners on how to identify aquatic invasive species and how to monitor. So he's working with a couple different lake associations on that. He also does purple loosestrife biocontrol. So they are using biological procedures, including a beetle collection and then releasing the beetles different places around the county to control purple loosestrife. And then he conducted monitoring on several different water bodies, looking for the presence or absence of invasive species, and that's listed at the very bottom of his staff report. He conducted monitoring, and these would be through snorkel surveys at Second Landing, Anglers All, Crayer Park, the Hot Pond in Ashland, the Ashland Marina, the Madeline Island Yacht Club. He also worked with Butternut Lake, Potter Lake, Meter Lake, Day Lake, and Eureka. And so our goal for the county is to be able to monitor all of our landings on Lake Superior and our marinas, and then we try to target 5 inland lakes a year looking for invasive species. He also has on the back side of his report a number of different types of educational outreach efforts that he's conducted in recent months. Any questions on the AIS report? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Jerry Richardson. I've noticed that maybe it's just from the growing season, the purple loosestrife has really thrived in Marengo area. And that was a concern. I wanted to bring it to the committee, just so I hopefully that Scott's aware of it, or we're all aware of it.
Thank you, Jerry. We did work with the Northwoods Cooperative Weed Management Area to rear some beetles this summer. It was a collaborative project, and those beetles were released in more of the northern part of the county along Lake Superior. And Scott is aware of the increase in purple loosestrife that we have in the Marengo area and Mellon, particularly along County C and along Highway 13. And so he's aware of that, and he's planning to increase that program next summer to raise those beetles through our department and having a greater extent of distribution.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for your awareness. It's appreciated. Okay, the conservationist report. It's 3 pages, so I'm not going to go through everything on here, but I am just going to highlight a few things. One of the things that we're working on recently is that our parent association, the Wisconsin Land and Water Conservation Association, and for those of you that are in the room, this would be under the education and outreach work on page 1. It's the first bullet. We are working with Wisconsin Land and Water and 5 other county conservationists across Wisconsin, and we formed a work group on climate change resilience. And this work group is working to incorporate climate science into our land and water plans. So when we updated our county's land and water plan last year, we did incorporate some science that was given to us from the Northern Institute of Applied Climate Science. And many of our activities are designed in the future years to account for increases in precipitation and increases in temperature that we're seeing here in Ashland County, and making a conscious decision to implement practices that will account for those changes that we're seeing in science. We were the first county in the state to incorporate this information into our land and water plan. It made an impact at the State Land and Water Board. They were impressed to see that. And now they are considering how to incorporate that work into other county plans. They're not sure if they want to make it a mandate or if it should be a voluntary thing. But this work group is having some discussions right now on how to incorporate available science and decision-making into future land and water plans to be able to account for variable conditions in our counties. Under our tree and shrub program, we did purchase our trees and shrubs for our 2021 sale. Our department has been offering a local tree and shrub sale for over 25 years. And we typically sell 11 to 12,000 trees and shrubs locally. The brochure will be available by the end of this week. It will be on our website, and then we'll be mailing it next week. And some of our new species for 2021 will be black walnut, American elm, and black cherry trees. There's some information there on some of the grants that we're working on. I'm not going to go into detail on those right now. On the bottom of the first page, I have a couple bullets on our FEMA Advanced Assistance Grant and our Act 157. Those projects are working in the Marengo River. You've heard me mention these a number of times at our last 3 or 4 meetings. This will be ongoing work over the next 2 years. So Ashland County did receive a $200,000 FEMA grant, and this is advanced assistance. So we are looking at erosion hazards in the Marengo River watershed. We're trying to identify hazards, and so that would allow us to apply for future funding to improve those hazards before we ever have infrastructure damage or road washouts. That project will provide us with some important data and information on the runoff in the Marengo River and the types of sediment that are being moved through the river. And like I mentioned, it will help set us up for future grant opportunities. Act 157, that's the $150,000 that we have through the state legislature. Early in July, Wisconsin Wetlands Association and a number of other resource partnerships, including UW Extension and Interfluve out of Minneapolis, they were here to do some field reconnaissance work with me. We did go out and look at 2 or 3 different sites in the Marengo River that have had substantial impact from flood. And we've identified 2 or 3 project demonstration areas. One of these project sites will be on Jack Cruzan's property over in Highbridge. Another one will take place on Reamer Road on Brian Anderson's farms. And so right now we are investigating some flood management types of practices, and we're planning to begin design work this winter. And if all goes well, hopefully we will be implementing those practices next summer. The back side of page 1, down at the very bottom, I have some bullets about nutrient management planning and farmland preservation. This is an area that we need to work on in our county. I've corresponded with our state farmland preservation program coordinator, and we have an opportunity in Ashland County to try to enroll some new farmers in our farmland preservation program. Right now, we only have 4 farmers that have farmland preservation plans. So any farmer that's interested in farming long-term, they could apply for a preservation agreement that would protect their farmland and keep it in farming for 15 years. The farmland preservation program allows for tax credits that are only associated with having a farmland preservation agreement. And the state is willing to work with us right now to provide $20,000 to try to enroll new farmers next year, and we would be able to provide a $2,000 incentive payment to enroll them into an agreement. They would have to develop the farmland preservation agreement for 15 years, and then they would be eligible for tax benefits from that. So I'm trying to look for farmers right now that would be interested in that program. Also, with our nutrient management, we do have 18 farmers in the county that have nutrient management plans. Any farmer that writes a nutrient management plan is eligible for receiving up to $40 an acre of cost share payments to follow a nutrient management plan. Nutrient management plans have been required in Wisconsin since 2002. So technically any producer that has livestock or that mechanically applies manure or fertilizer to their landscape is required to follow a nutrient management plan. This also applies to grazers, beef grazers. And so we continually are trying to provide outreach and educational opportunities to engage our farmers in writing nutrient management plans. And we have $30,000 still available for 2020 to try to get new nutrient management plans written in Ashland County. And for those of you that are on the phone, I can go ahead later today and send out the reports that are written, as those did not go out in the packets. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else, any got any questions, comments? If not, any other business? Go ahead, John.
I have a question for all the water systems, like the Marengo, Bad, and the Brunsweiler. All this research work is being done, but none of it I hear about the Hudson Bay Dam. Why don't I hear anything about the Hudson Bay Dam? That is, does anybody know about this?
Well, that's a zoning issue. The Hudson Bay Dam.
This is regarding who
really
owns the
not.
dam, what's gonna happen to that dam?
Well, here's what I got. I had Kathy ask me what my thoughts were, because you were at the original meeting when that group of people came. And what happens, for any of you that don't know what the Hudson Bay Dam is, it's up on the Bronzewillow River, just off of 196, where the Wood, I don't know how many of you know where the Wood Bridge is, but it's just down from there. And in the early 60s, the people on Spider Lake, they're with the dry years and the wet years, the lake was going up and down, and they, of course, they would lose their lake, and then they, so they couldn't put their boats out in that. So they solicited Ashland County to put in a dam. So Ashland County put in a dam, maybe, well, Jerry and I used to fish that quite a bit, quarter of a mile down from the Wood Bridge. So the Forestry Service comes to us and says that that dam is 1 foot too high, and we got to knock it down. Well, of course, Spider Lake people are up in arms about it, and they should be. But the Forest Service gives them an option to take over that dam and make a rivers association and take ownership of that dam. Now, of course, they're worried about it blowing out, and they're gonna have to put it in. So they asked Marengo, town of Marengo, because that's the township that it's in. And here's what I told Kathy. I said, you know, that dam's never gonna go out in 100 years, as far as I'm concerned. If any of you's ever seen it, it's not a real big dam. It's pretty simple. And if it goes out, it's not gonna hurt anything. I mean, it's not gonna flood the valley. And before that water ever gets to County Trunk C, you won't even know that it went out. So my thoughts right away were, is if these people don't want to take it over, then we'll knock it out of there. And so that's my thought on it. You got a different thought on it?
Well, yeah, I don't know what, it's been a battle for the last year, but the thing is, if you take that dam out, that water is gonna drop down 1.5 feet for every person around there. And then your value of your land is gone. I don't understand why this hasn't been more of an issue. With everybody so worried about the Bad Marengo and the Brunsweiler, but nobody cares about the dam that's on the Brunsweiler River. That's a big issue because.
Have you ever been to Spider Lake and looked at the lake?
I live on that lake.
Okay.
I live on Duck Lake, Muckle Lake, right where the Brunsweiler starts.
Okay. So the thing is Ashland County already said they're not gonna take ownership of it.
George, Josh
No.
is on the phone if you want any
I
clarity.
can take over this conversation if you'd like.
Would like to hear that.
Okay. Is it okay, George, if I speak?
What?
All right. Number one, this should have come up at zoning, not really land conservation. It's not a water quality issue that I'm aware of. The DNR did their research and it's been decided Ashland County does not own the dam, period. It doesn't matter what anybody's wishes are. They wish they did, they want them to take it over. Ashland County does not own the dam. If you look at the state statutes that fall under dam ownership, we don't meet the criteria of owning the dam, period. Town of Marengo refused to take ownership, refused to tax the residents, and basically chased out the people of the town of Gordon. Town of Gordon is working with their attorney and Attorney Jarkow's office, reviewing paperwork and looking at taxing, trying to decide if they can force town of Marengo to tax their lake residents also, but town of Gordon is looking at taking ownership of the dam. As it currently stands, the Yellowtail family is going to have a rude awakening by the DNR if the town of Gordon doesn't take it over, because the Yellowtail family will be the proud owners of the Hudson Bay Dam. So the county's out of it. The county's been out of it for months. I've explained that. We've talked about it. We're basically working through with the town of Gordon, Jarkow's law office, you know, trying to get their documents so they can make their presentation to the town of Gordon. Town of Gordon's willing to take it over as long as they can set up their tax district to fund the dam, because they don't feel they should bear the full burden. But their property owners on Spider Lake are more than happy to pay their share. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if they have to cover all the expense, they're willing to. So I'm not sure why this would come to land conservation, John.
I'm just curious, they got so many grants on everything else on the Marengo, but they never have any information or any help on that dam.
Well, in order to apply for grants or to do any of the work that Mary Jo does, somebody would have to bring it up at a meeting. It doesn't just magically happen. All these things that she puts her time and heart into are all topics that have been brought forward to her, or, you know, that other people have deemed important, but they have to be brought to her attention. There are no grants to repair the, well, there's a 50% matching grant to make any repairs to the dam, but that has to be applied for by the owner. So either the Yellowtail family or the town of Gordon will be able to apply for grants once that, you know, once those two entities decide who's going to own it. But it's not something, Ashland County can't apply for grants on a privately owned dam.
I think we gotta move on it, because I think by next June, we're supposed to have a decision made, or somebody's supposed to do something, or they're gonna come and make us take it down a foot.
That's a false statement. Whoever made that statement, everything's on hold with the Hudson Bay Dam at the moment. Ownership's already been determined. The only way the DNR was going to push for removal was if they couldn't decide on ownership. I'm looking at the property transfers, looking at the fact that the county never had a recorded easement or access to it. The fact the county's always had to ask permission. There's a lot of things that came into play in the DNR's ruling on that. So ultimately, again, if the town of Gordon doesn't take over ownership, the DNR will be meeting with the Yellowtail family to explain, you know, their obligation to maintaining the dam. But at this point, there are no plans of removing the dam. It's either going to be taken over by the town of Gordon or the Yellowtail family is going to own it.
Anything else?
Well, I just was curious about, you know, if you say that doesn't have any effect on the dam from where on down, but it does have effect on everywhere on down all the way through down to the Bad River. So I don't understand why the rest of the water quality doesn't take effect from there on down, because it does involve other places.
Well, you can talk about water quality with Mary Jo probably at a future date if that's something that's, you know, that you guys decide as a committee that you want her to move forward on. It's kind of off topic for today.
Mr. Chairman, could I intercede here? It is a very important issue. I sure agree with John totally on that, but I can't understand how much maintenance they've ever done on it. Like George mentioned earlier, we've been up in that area over the years, and it doesn't appear that they've ever had to do any maintenance or anything on it. It doesn't appear that any money was ever spent on it once it was initially built.
Well, the Army Corps of Engineers about 5 or 6 years ago did a safety test on it basically, and other than a few little things that they had to clean up, there was nothing wrong with the dam. Anyway, any other discussion? If not, do we have any other business? If none, we probably should have a meeting this week, a month or year yet, huh? 1, 2, November.
Do you guys want to meet in November or December?
Well, depends on how much we got to talk about. We could meet both times, but it doesn't matter to me. It ain't even October. We probably should meet before deer season and then later in the year. Clean up anything we need to clean up later part of December.
Okay. I'll set a date for the first week in November. I don't have my calendar.
Well,
so.
the 10th of November, we have our budget meeting, correct, Clark? The 10th, yeah. So it should probably be in deer season. Is we don't want, yeah, we could have it during deer season. Dave will get his the night before. Somewhere in that 15th.
How about
The election's on November 3rd.
Yep.
That would be a good day.
How about November 12th? It's a Thursday.
Excellent. Well, tentatively
November
set for
12th.
November 12th, 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Probably gonna run the same format.
Yes.
If nothing else, I'll adjourn.